Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. So last time Rebecca and I spoke, this is part 3 now of our
this just keeps going on and on.
3-part podcast. But we interviewed her daughters, and it was a really great interview. And you all, obviously, if you listen to our podcast, you heard the interview. What struck me immediately was how confident Sadie and Felicia are. And it was very clear that it wasn't I'm doing this because I'm on a podcast and, I think I need to. It was clear, like, this is who they are. These are the girls that they are. This is the people that they surround themselves with. Talk a little bit about that. Did you have the conversation after we? Well,
it was interesting. Afterwards, I kind of was talking to them a little bit about it. And they were sort of like, body image isn't really a thing that concerns us. Yeah. They've got a good group of friends. They're supportive of each other. They're focusing on stuff that they do, school, sports, band, things like that, as opposed to appearance. But, they were kind of saying like, well, we can only speak from our own experience. And Sadie was sort of like, I do sort of feel bad though, because I think there are kids that struggle with body image. She's like, and I can't say anything really that's helpful because I haven't experienced that. But I think even just, having a life experience where focus on what someone's, abilities are as opposed to appearance, where that's sort of more the priority and where strength training kind of keeps your attention on that focus, I think is helpful. And maybe that would be for other, kids their age that might be struggling with body image issues. But yeah, Sadie was like very aware afterwards, like it's not a thing for me. So it's hard to talk about it in that light.
Right. That was, it was surprising and it wasn't surprising to me. I kind of expected to maybe hear a little bit of, when I was this age, or, I have a friend, mm-hmm. But it was a clear cut from both of them. They were just like, it's just not a thing. And the girls, the friends, even the boys, I guess, that they surround themselves with, it's just, they focus on other things. There are other parts of their life. And this is not something that and again, because they participate in a sport. And I always feel like that sports in general, whether it's dance or soccer or lacrosse or field hockey or something like that, where does body image come in to play? Because that not every experience is going to be the same for every young athlete. And look at the pictures inside of whether it's Muscle and Fitness magazine or Oxygen or I'm trying to think of any of I never really looked at any teen magazines when I was growing up. I guess I
got 17. I had 17.
Yeah, I never really went through 17. Yeah, it wasn't until later.
Wasn't helpful.
I think a lot of the issues that I had came from obviously dance, not from a magazine. You can look at magazines, and even just articles about people, celebrities, focusing on their toned. We couldn't look past her because of her toned abs and this abs or those legs. Yeah. Somebody being,
Yeah, but like Sadie was sort of talking about that too. It was like you see that sort of stuff on social media in the comments, and I guess when they're on TikTok, a lot of times what'll happen is somebody will maybe put something up and then they'll focus on the comments and comment on the comments, like, look at these negative things that people are saying, or this isn't right, or sort of editorializing the kind of comments, interpreting those comments, putting them into a different context. Then, my kids aren't putting photos of themselves up on social media and looking for affirmations and being upset by critiques or criticisms or something like that. They're watching other people criticize other people's criticisms. So it's sort of coming at social media from a little bit different angle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which we never had to deal with. I mean, that was just not a thing. It was all internal strife. I think at least when I was growing up, it wasn't magazines that were making me feel bad or other, other people.
Well, it's whatever that outside influence, whatever it is, social media, magazine, movie, friend telling you she can, get her, circumference of her leg in the palm of her hand or whatever it is. It's how you internalize that. So it's like, there are times that Felicia has told me, like when we were talking about this in the interview, like a text thing that went wrong where she accidentally sent to the family. But there are certain stereotypes that are circulated in the high school about body appearance in relation to particular sports or people or whatever. But like those seem to kind of, for the most part, bounce off my kids because that's not what they're focused on. Yeah. It's what you do with that stuff if like if it comes in and affects your perception of yourself or stays on the outside a little bit more. And I don't know. We just got lucky there.
Yeah. I was mentioning to somebody just the other day about, was it a podcast? I was talking to Jackie. Oh, I saw Jackie. Steve, she was in town, so Steve came in for training. So I was mentioning her. I said, I mentioned you in our podcast recently. and I was explaining that, why I brought her up, the differences between the strength training for girls versus strength training. And she kind of went, So I said, I was curious. I said, I wanted to know if there was a difference. I said, because I know you told me that you never deadlifted. She goes, no, I didn't. And I was good. Like I was remembering, right? Like, okay, I didn't make that up, did I? But it was that there was a difference when she was in college of how she trained or how her female swimmers, swimming colleagues trained versus how the male colleagues trained. There was a difference between the two and why that was. And she fought her coach on that a lot. And she won. She eventually won. And I think they started to train differently as a result of her kind of encouraging to think a little differently about how they can train. And I think it was her when I said, we did the interview and I said, it's amazing. The girls were just so confident in themselves. And I said, I wish I had that confidence when I was 15. And she said, yeah, me too. So I know of a lot more women, our age.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I also have to say, I think there is probably something to them being twins.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the insecurities that people have and internalized based on whatever's coming at them from external sources, like it didn't matter. They always sort of had each other to back each other up. So even if there was nobody else going to hang out with them or something, they still weren't alone. Yeah. They had each other. And the 1 year that Felicia did mention that she struggled a little bit more in 8th grade, the way the classes got split up that year, Felicia and Sadie weren't on the same team. They had different teachers. Mm-hmm. Most of their friend group was in the same team as Sadie. So Felicia had to kind of find a new space. Yeah. She still had her usual, she still had her twin. She still had her usual group of friends, but that wasn't the circle that she was traveling with through her classes on a day-to-day basis. So I think, when you approach those things as a singleton, a lot of times it's harder.
Absolutely. And that's, you talking about that they're twins and they kind of have each other, and that's an important part.
I mean, that's not the case for all twins, but these guys have each other's back.
Yeah. And they also choose to surround themselves again with people who are like-minded with them. And I think that is the hard part for many women who strength train and who's maybe they're other they have friends at the gym that they can hang out with and talk to, and they have common values. But then they have another group outside that doesn't do that. And how are they being influenced by them versus how the women at the gym, let's say if they have friends there, or maybe they don't, maybe they go to the gym by themselves and they don't have that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not camaraderie or influence. They don't have someone there to support. Yeah. So then they're hanging out, they're having lunch, and it's, what'd you do the other day? Oh, I went to the gym, I squatted. Yeah, why do you do that? I mean, why don't someone take a Pilates class? So that can be challenging for an adult woman to.
Well, when I first started coming up to 5x3, like this was the thing that I felt like I was traveling between two worlds, right? Because at 5x3, it's this environment where everybody's working towards strength goals and they're praising each other for getting PRs or for, working through finishing a grindy set, like whatever it is, like it's strength-based,
right.
Goals and supporting each other and trying to achieve those goals. And then coming back and working in a more traditional commercial gym setting where the majority of the women there are doing group fitness classes and trying to be skinnier, smaller, or that sort of thing. And that exact same, like, well, why would you be doing that? That's, you're going to end up looking like, I don't know, Hulk or whatever.
Right.
That's, it was sort of like trying to walk a fine line.
Sure.
Because a lot of the people that I was, like I'm working at the gym, I'm trying to get clients at the gym. So I don't want to alienate people who aren't sort of pursuing those same goals, people who don't understand that. But I also am looking at them going like, you guys could benefit so much from a different focus in your exercise. But
yeah, trying to navigate that line. I've always said I'm lucky that I haven't, I tell people I haven't set foot in a commercial gym going on, 10 years now. And that's just, and it was never like, when I was, training somewhere else, I was teaching spin classes, which I loved. And I was also getting involved more with strength training. That was like the year of 2010. Right before I left the dance studio to open up the gym, and had transitioned. I was kind of starting to do more strength work with, dumbbells and less machines. But it wasn't until starting, the strength program, the program that, using the model that you and I use, that my world really opened up. And then I saw, what I should have seen how many years ago, but I'm happy I at least, have it now. And that changed everything about how I looked in myself in the mirror and how I approached my eating and my training. And I have the women and the men at my gym who I'm friends with, and also, their coach. And then my friends outside the gym, if I hang out with them, I just don't talk about that, I guess, because I have other things in common with them. These are like my dancer friends from high school. I still have that connection in the dance world. So I can go back and forth, and it just doesn't come up. And my two friends who are involved with what I do love it and support it 100%. And it's more just, what you're doing for yourself and for the people. It's fantastic. Others, if they don't quite get what I do, or we just don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. So in a sense, I've been able to separate myself and really create a different community.
Yeah.
That many women may not be able to to create, which I wish, like that Facebook page, that was just, I guess, when did it end? About a year ago? The barbell?
The barbells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, a community for women to come together who don't have anybody to train with, or don't have a gym like, 5x3 or even, Westminster, where there are a lot of women there training and doing their thing. But it just became a lot to kind of carry for, and disbanded, which is unfortunate because it was a place where I think a lot of women really, they needed that support. And I hope that they found it somewhere else, if they have stayed with the training, if they were able to find another forum to, to work, to reach out to and talk about things. So notes, and I kind of feel like we talked about this last time, about how to deal with wanting to look good, because we all want to look good, we all want to feel good, versus wanting to also be strong. And I'm thinking, like, we touched on that a little bit in the last
Yeah.
podcast.
Well, we jump around.
We do. So maybe how do we? I'm looking at some of the notes. Strength versus aesthetics. Mass moves mass. Of course, the more muscle you have, or the bigger you have, the stronger you can get. Assessing. I want my deadlift to go up, but how much is it going to go up versus how much I weigh? Do I want to gain more weight? Is that going to help my deadlift go up? Am I okay with my deadlift being where it is and making smaller gains? Maybe you want to talk about that.
I mean, well, of course you mentioned deadlift, which is my favorite lift. And that is always, that was always the lift that motivated me most strongly to train harder, to eat a particular way, to, prioritize a strength goal over anything else. But I mean, there is a balance. And it got to a point, where I think, my deadlift was at its best. I was still looking for 3 plates, wasn't quite there, was very close, but another trainer that I work with kind of just, and he knows weight training, looks at me and goes, well, you probably have to gain some weight to get to that point. And I was already on the edge of uncomfortable.
Right.
Because it's there's a balance. Yes, I want to achieve certain strength goals, but I also wanted to be comfortable in myself. And there is a certain maybe tipping point where you have to decide how you're going to balance comfort in your own body and in your life outside of the gym with your desire to achieve competitive goals. And some people who are, world-class competitive powerlifters have put a lot of that other stuff off to the side. That's not even a consideration. They're, strictly focused on their competitive goals. I don't live in that world. Yes. I'm a decent lifter. I'm not world-class. I'm not even, breaking records or anything. It was just for my own sense of accomplishment. And so how much of one's own sense of accomplishment are you willing to sacrifice for if it means discomfort in other areas in your life? And you see that struggle, I think, to a certain degree playing out basically in jokes on different Facebook forums where people are kind of trying to laugh off this sort of, if they have focused on strength goals and mass moves mass, and so they've gained weight and they're maybe a little bit, spread out when they're on the seat in the airplane, or they have to buy new pants, or their jeans split, or whatever it is, and they kind of laugh it off. But there comes a point where maybe you have to decide there are seasons for different things. So maybe there's seasons for your competitive goals, and then you pull things back a little bit, and you have other seasons where you take into account life goals or comfort within your own skin goals.
Yeah. And I think so for those who don't know you, because I have a lot of new clients, and I talk about our podcast, and I say, one day I hope you meet Rebecca. Tell people, how tall are you? So people get an idea of when we talk about you gaining more weight.
How tall do I think I am?
Your deadlift is close to the 3 plates, which is 315.
I'm on a good day. On a good day, I'm maybe 5'1".
Yeah, so she's 5'1", everybody. And, so when you talk about gaining weight, I mean, you're petite, but you've got a lot of muscle on you, and you're very strong, and you've gotten strong since I've known you, obviously, really strong. And when I see you, and I haven't seen you in a while, but I do see you on Zoom, we're Zooming on. But you don't look any drastically different, but you're stronger.
Yeah, it's funny. So it's like over the course of whatever this has been, like 5 years. And when I first started, I mean, my height hasn't changed. I think I'm 5'4", but that's just because after becoming stronger, after becoming stronger, I feel like I'm entitled to more space in the world. And so I view myself as taller.
Granted, I did have somebody tell me that, after taking a bar class, they grew 2 inches. So it can happen. I mean,
Well, I mean, most people grow while they're sleeping. Like you decompress during the day, your joints kind of smush down.
Taller. She probably just was standing taller, but
it's attitude.
Yeah.
But like, so when I started this up at 5'3", I was, I'm like 5'1"-ish, right. And had just come off a surgery. So I was maybe a little bit lighter on the scale than I would normally have been at that point. But over the course of 5 years, I've probably, I would say, gained 7, maybe 10 pounds, between 7 and 10 pounds. When it gets to the point where it's 10 pounds, I start feeling uncomfortable in myself.
Right.
And things are different. I mean, like, even just when I started doing pull-ups, right? Like, I never had lats before. I mean, obviously I did. They were there, but they weren't developed. And that's always like the thing that, like, I think is kind of the most humorous about, like, the way a body might change and how you might feel bigger. Like, it's not that much weight gained. A lot of people have gained that much weight in 5 years and it's not muscle. But when you gain lat muscle that you didn't used to have and you are female, it makes shaving your armpits really challenging. And so that was like one of the first things I noticed. And it also feels different. Like you feel different in your shirt. Like it feels tighter across the back, which was sort of an odd feeling.
It makes taking your sports bra off really hard, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Even easier in the winter because it's sweaty, but it is grueling to take a sports bra off for me. That's a work in itself. Putting it on and taking it off. Because my cup size versus my back, how broad my back is, a mesh. Small cup size, big back. So it finding a bra that fits can be very challenging.
Yeah, that lat thing, and then the other place, like coming from like having been, on the slighter under muscle side when I started the other place that like you or I specifically gained mass was erector spine, right? So my back from deadlifting became stronger. That muscle became sturdier. And I don't think that affected like the waistband on my pants. I don't recall that. Like I recall like, lats feeling big in my shirt and that feeling uncomfortable. Yeah. But that was also like, that just took a little bit of adjustment. Yeah. And I was also at that point so pumped about being able to do pull-ups, which I hadn't been able to do before, and doing weighted pull-ups. Yeah. Like I can pull my weight and some. Yeah. So that was initially you're talking about like aesthetics. I knew my shape was changing. The weight on the scale was changing, but it felt different. Yeah. But the reward outweighed the discomfort for me at that point. And then, 5 years into it, and then COVID times, like the scales sort of tipped in a different direction. And so I'm not squatting as heavy. I'm not deadlifting as heavy. I'm not benching as heavy as I was. I've added, I got a spin bike. I've added some more cardio. So my strength goals are further from realization, but the way I feel in my body is different. It's a little more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, you walk that line, sometimes on one side, sometimes on the other, and you make choices based on, what's practical or comfortable or what makes you feel most confident.
Yeah. No, there has to be a kind of what's comfortable for your body. And I think that's, that's where people sometimes, they get skewed. The blurred lines occur. Listening to your, 5 years of growth, for you, and then coming now to a place where, priorities are different and the strength is important, but you're enjoying training another way. And, you're comfortable with how you feel, like where you are right now in regards to your body. And I've gotten comfortable over the years just because of the strength training, of having a different focus for what my body is supposed to be about. And it wasn't looking a certain way or making myself take up less space. It started to become about filling the space. And I have a friend who's always told me that if I was 185, I'd be totally competitive. But 185, sure, I could hold that on my frame. I'm 5'7". I used to be 5'7.5". I'm still going to call myself 5'7", even though I was about a year ago, I got measured at Patient First and I was 5'6¾". I said, that's wrong. You're wrong. I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7.5". And the nurse said to me, in what world? I said, I'm sorry, in my world. So now I just kind of say 5'7". Maybe there's a little, bit of maybe I'm a little
What's going on there?
But on my frame, so if I said on my frame at 129, which is where I was when I started strength training 10 years ago, I don't look good. I look unhealthy. Even though at the time in the mirror, I still looked too big. Fast forward how many years, when I look back at those pictures, I kind of go, that's what I look like? Why didn't everybody tell me that I look so sick? But that person in the mirror was not the person I'm seeing now. So as I said in I think last episode or maybe 2 episodes before, I started to work on gaining weight, right? Training, building muscle. And I got to a point where about 155. So I went from 129 to 155. Got stronger, back got better, everything's better. And there is a tipping point for me too. I could get to 185. That's putting 30 more pounds on top of that weight I'd already had.
Right.
I wasn't comfortable doing that. And that wasn't going to help my strength goals. I'll tell you that, because I think I hit that, we reach our genetic potential, and I've reached my genetic potential. And I'm happy. I was happy where I got to and the progress that I've made and the progress I continue to make. But I was never going to go that extra mile. Like you, I'm not a competitive person. I'm not going to be a powerlifter. That's not my goal. My goal is to get better, feel better, and build more and build strength and make my back, hurt less. So quarantine for me, I'd gotten to a certain weight prior to quarantine, and it was a place where I was uncomfortable. And you were talking about like just where I felt like that was about as much weight as I could really want to handle. And my lifts were fine. Like they weren't wonderful. They were good, but that wasn't the purpose. So I reached out to a friend of mine who's a dietitian and started to work with him. And April, May, June, July, I actually focused a lot on my nutrition. Everything stayed the same with me in the gym. I was teaching classes, and I got down to a weight where I was like, I'm pretty comfortable here. This is a weight that's lower than I've been in a while. All my lifts feel really good. I feel really good. My acid reflux is gone. It's a win. So I have no idea where I weigh right now because the scale is still packed away. Uh-huh. But I only used it to get to kind of, drop weight and start to kind of feel a better just inside my body, gastrointestinal issues, acid reflux. But the weight on the weight on the bar was still, I was still able to maintain my strength because the priority was honestly coaching my clients, keeping everybody going while we were locked down. And now that we're back, it's still my priority. I'm still a priority. I take care of myself. I go to the gym. I lift my weights. I teach my class. But I definitely found my eating habits have continued from where I was when I was working with my friend. And now I've kind of, added a few things back in, but I've been able to maintain a really good place where I'm making progress. I feel good. And again, it was just that scale came out to just help me see the progress, give me a feedback, And then I don't need it anymore. It went away. I haven't pulled it out since. So I have no idea what I weigh. But it's okay because where I am right now, everything feels good.
Right.
So, I think that's and where we start to get to. We start to get to that point, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, the scale is a helpful tool, right. And it can keep people accountable towards reaching goals or maintaining health, right? It's one way to track and measure progress or regress. But when that becomes the end all and be all to what somebody is doing, that's not necessarily helpful. Because the number is 10 pounds more or 10 pounds less, if you're feeling healthy, confident, and comfortable in yourself, I think that's also, that's also.
Years ago, they have quite a few handouts that as a nutrition coach, you kind of, dealing with people, you're talking about, they do a lot with habits. One of the very first, forms that they have someone fill out is, are you ready?
Yeah.
Anything else? Can you check off the box to these things? Are you actually ready to take this step? Because if you're not, it's going to be impossible to really see the change and make the progress you want. You have to be ready. And some people think they are, and then within a week or 2 weeks, they fall off the cliff. And then they come back how many months later? And then they're ready. It's hard to say, yes, I'm ready. They're very
well. I mean, because being ready means that you're going to do some boring, tedious stuff, and if they have the consistency is one of the big foundational blocks. Like people want to get to the gimmicky stuff at the top where it's a specialized kind of approach to eating, and this food is off limits and that food is okay, and all these rules, but the basic foundational rule is consistency. Okay. And if you can't do that, if you can't be boring and consistent, then none of that other good food, bad food, keto, paleo, whatever kind of intermittent fasting, whatever you're doing, isn't gonna.
No. The biggest thing is
the effect you're looking for.
You have to know that you want to start something. You have to know that this is what you want to prioritize. Everybody who comes to the gym to begin a strength training program, they have made the decision to prioritize this. And the ones who stick around, and who I see day in and day out, they have made that their priority. I have a wonderful couple who just started with us in September, and Melissa said to me, she said, really, now that we've got this, I want to focus on our nutrition. They already are focusing on that, she and Ariane. But I said, why don't we start in the new year? Give yourself 2 more months. You've only started in September. You've only been training for a month and a half. Give yourself November and December to stay consistent, to keep getting strong, keep adding weight to the bar. After the holidays into the new year, that's what we're going to plan. Because then they've had a good 3 months of solid training. And she's like, I love that. Sounds good. Sounds great. Because I feel like that's a good amount of time to really get somebody invested in their training and being consistent in something, which these two have been. There's no question. They have not missed a session. And then you can see that they're going to make great progress when they start that second phase of their training.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's where the feeling better, feeling stronger, and then seeing yourself differently, and then deciding, do I want to gain weight? Do I want to lose weight? Where can I go? I feel like that's where strength training is so crucial, because it gives you a different focus and a different priority on what your body, and then you can make a decision about what you want to do, what kind of body you want to have.
Well, I mean, there's limits to that.
Yeah. But it does at least it gives you a sense of my body's really, really good. It's
I think what it does, what you're describing, there's 2 key features to starting with the strength strength training. I think, for one, we've been talking about the discipline and the consistency that it instills that will result in, achieving goals, whether those goals are strength goals or whether they are weight loss reduction goals or weight reduction goals or whatever. But yeah, it gives you a different appreciation for what your body can do, and a different understanding of weight and what that means, really. People a lot of times have an emotional attachment to a particular weight on the scale. They think they need to weigh a certain small amount based on, I don't know, whatever scales, BMI or whatever. And maybe that's not realistic for their body type, but they learn through strength training a different way to understand and appreciate their body's abilities. And it's always, when you're making changes and coming from a positive place, a positive self-concept, I think that's, they're more lasting as opposed to things that you're changing because you're I don't know. Anyway.
I think it's really it's very challenging for people to sift through a lot of the bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that in a PG podcast. To get to really, the essence of what they truly want or what they need. I think I view strength training as a need. It's not so much to, build a banging body. It's give you the ability to get off the toilet when you're older, to get off the toilet now when you're younger. It's that ability to do for yourself, to be able to know that if you're going to go out somewhere and it's just you and you have to go shopping, you have to pick up a bunch of things or carry things, that you can do that. You don't need help. There's something very satisfying, again, of knowing that you are capable, that you are a capable person who can do for him or herself. And I try to, that's what I push when people come to the gym and they say they want to start a strength program, and they've done their research. And some come and say, I'm looking to lose some weight too. I kind of hear that. But what I emphasize is, great, we're going to get you stronger. We're going to make you feeling better. We're going to get you feeling better. That's what we're going to do. And this is our program. And here's how the program runs. Oh, and by the way, we can help you with nutrition. And that's always the side. Because I want to get them in the door to see your body can do this. And your body, as it is right now, can do this. And we're going to make you start to see yourself differently and feel different just by starting to squat and press and bench and do push-ups and try chin-ups. That realization of what the body is capable of doing, also all the other stuff kind of goes off to the side, maybe comes back again, but it's always now I want to focus on what I eat, but I don't want to lose any of my gains. I'm like, you're not going to. Don't worry. That's not going to happen. In fact, you're going to get stronger. You're going to keep getting stronger. Okay, good. So that feeling of that satisfying feeling of being strong is so important, I think, to try to emphasize to people. And yes, eating well and eating food is a need, and trying to help people understand there is no bad food, good food.
Yeah,
there is food, and as I said to my client the other day, who I was talking to, who wants to lose weight, I said, you need to eat food that you like. Don't eat food you don't like. Don't try to eliminate food and because you think this is a healthier food. No, there's food, and there's quality.
So much of that too is just whatever the current fad is. Yes. There's people who legitimately cannot eat gluten.
Right.
But now that's also popular.
Right.
There's people who legitimately cannot have dairy. And then, there's dairy-free or meat-free. Right,
and there's the vegans who want to go vegan because they really, truly don't want to, that's their that's their own belief as what food is for them. And others who see it as what's new today, going vegan is cool. No, I have a couple of vegans at my gym, and legitimately that's how they eat because that's how they want to eat. Has nothing to do with losing weight or trying to be this is what they enjoy eating this way. And they have recipes, and they cook and they prepare, and they are delicious, the meals that they make. I've had them. I don't care what the food is. If it's food in front of me, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to make sure that I'm well-rounded and balanced. I'm having vegetables, I'm having meat, I'm having protein, I'm having my fat, I'm balanced. But food is food for me now. And it didn't used to be that way. But it has a lot, again, to come. I'm always coming back to that. It comes back to the way I'm training now.
Yeah.
And that's even hard. It's still hard, though, for people who do strength train. Sometimes they do go off that. They go off on a tangent. And I always wonder, there's something else going on within that person if they like what they do, like they like the strength training, but then they're still torn with how they eat or how they look, and there's something else always going on then that you can't get to. And that takes a professional. That takes somebody who, beyond our capabilities. Most of the people I work with, they just want to feel better. They want to move better. I don't know if you follow Spencer Nadosky. He's on Instagram. He's one of he's not. I don't think he doesn't work with Baraki or Feigenbaum, with Austin and Jordan, but he's kind of one of those, like, he's a strength. He strength trains, and he's a doctor, and he encourages, obviously, people eating good food, strength training, and he talks in very flat terms of, like, he kind of makes fun of. He pokes fun at everybody. Pokes on the vegans. Pokes on the paleo. Pokes on the this and he had a post about, it was a video of himself, and he's a pretty lean guy, lean like Austin and Jordan, but according to the BMI, he's overweight.
Right.
That's the discussion we had. So it was exactly the discussion that we had on our podcast about how the BMI is used, and how it gets so skewed when the person is in good shape, who trains, who has muscle, but weighs more than the quote quote standard weight should be for a person that height.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, I think that's important for people to understand as they.
I guess, it's like all these other things, though. They're a piece of the puzzle. They're not the whole story.
Always. I think it always comes down to, and this is very hard, like how comfortable we are in ourselves. And if we're not comfortable in ourselves, what do we need to do to make that change happen? Like, what's going to help that person feel better about how they look, how they perform. I mean, there's so many people that I know who are not happy with themselves, and I look at them and I'm like, but they have nothing to worry about. But I can't get inside their head. I don't know everything that kind of that they're dealing with.
Yeah, everybody's got their own demons.
Yeah, but I can empathize. I can empathize so much because I've been there. I've been there, and it's I was talking to my mom about this. I don't know what changed in me, but there was just a mindset that shifted, and that's what it comes down to. You just have to be able to try to change that mindset for yourself of what's important to you. What's important to you. What's your priority, and who do you surround yourself with? I think that's key.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about too, because it's like a lot of times, I think particularly with women, maybe the strength training does help them feel better about themselves, focus on something different. But depending on who they're surrounding themselves with, even if they're comfortable in themselves and are pleased with their strength goals and strength gains, if the boyfriend, husband, whatever, is not supportive of that, then that can heavily weigh on their decision to continue or not. I've had a client like that who loved strength training. It reminded her of when she was a high school athlete, and she felt very confident about what she was, training to do in the gym. But her fiance at that time had made several comments about, I sure hope you don't end up getting bulky. Mm-hmm. That was the end of that for her.
Right. She chose, she made the decision to choose him.
The relationship. over herself
and her confidence and, in what she felt was right for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, what it is what's right for you. Now, sure, you could be doing something horrible, like smoking crack or shooting up heroin or,
I mean, the reverse story of that, though, is we were talking about gym tourism, but like when I was at a gym in New Jersey a couple of summers ago, I met a woman where pretty much the exact opposite had happened. She was married. It wasn't, it was not a great supportive relationship. Mm-hmm. She started strength training. She felt more confident about herself with the strength training. Mm-hmm. The husband made similar comments about, you didn't ask me about doing this strength training, and I don't like this and the other thing about how you're getting muscular. And she was like, that confirms it. I'm out of here.
See?
So exact same story, processed differently, different outcome.
Opposite effect, I mean, obviously I'm in a great situation, as are you, where, I have a husband who, he'll go to hug me and then he'll start to like pat my back. He goes, damn, what have you been doing? Someone's been training. And I'm like, yes. He goes, feels good. Because he remembers helping a young woman once years ago at the gym. And we were doing, it was like I think it was in my basic training class. We were doing wall slides, so they had her arms up against the wall. We were just doing some kind of mobility exercise. And he was helping her. And he took a hold of her arms to like help her guide her arms up. And he said, my hands just went squish, just like right through her arm. Like he was touching Eleanor, and she was like 3 at the time, and a 3-year-old has nothing. I mean, it's just skin and bones. He said, it was like touching Eleanor. My hands just like went where it was like doughy, just went right through her arm. He said, it was the strangest feeling. I didn't like it at all. He said, it just wasn't, it was odd because, touching me, there's like, there's muscle there, there's padding. But yeah, that feeling of, if you don't like what I look like, yeah, we got a problem because I feel good. And this is how I want to look. And this is how I want to be. It's not what I want to feel. And I'm sure she didn't look hulkish at all. But I think there is a sense of, some men and many women, I wouldn't say men and women, just men, but have and this goes back to something you've talked about many times, a different idea of what, is aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Men who prefer softer women, men who like muscular women.
Clearly not Diego.
Yeah. So, yeah. And if someone tells me that they're feeling bigger and that their pants fit them differently, I'm like, cool. I think what you're feeling is pump because it's only been a week. But I acknowledge it. I want to acknowledge it, and say, that's awesome. I mean, that's, you're never going to hear me say, what? Well, we have to stop what you're doing right now and, back off. No, because it's really not there. It's just physically you're feeling very different about yourself. And that happens very quickly. The results, the seeing yourself, that happens weeks and weeks and months down the road. But the immediate, I feel different is real, definitely real. Well, I think
we've talked a while, and I'm not sure we talked about the topic at all.
You know why? Because I think we covered quite a bit of everything in the first 2 episodes. So this was just kind of maybe a recap and thinking of other things that we
we spent a good amount of time rehashing the last episode.
I think there was some. I heard new things come out of my mouth that I didn't talk about in the first 2 episodes. But Diego said, you will have spent a month on body image. I said, well, I think it's a subject that it's worth spending some time on. Just kind of saying, we don't have the answers. This is what we've done. This is what we see. This is how we work with our clients and even ourselves. And it's important, I think, for people to know that, everybody has a history. Everybody comes from something. And we're all working still towards, an end product. So we will be back in a couple weeks with a new topic. One we've been I don't know if Rebecca remembers what I discussed.
I remember nothing. What are we talking about?
But I want to discuss topic of pain. That's what I want to start to cover.
That's one of my kids is yelling in the other room.
Right. Pain.
I don't know if you heard that or not.
No, I didn't hear it. I haven't heard anything. I've heard Todd like intermittently. But we'll be back in a couple weeks. New topic to discuss. And once again, any comments or questions you have for us, we'd happy to answer those on our podcast. info@5by3.com or to Rebecca. Give them your email address so I don't screw it up again.
It's very long. Cornerstone Strength Maryland @gmail.com.
Cornerstone Strength Maryland @gmail.com. And once again, thanks for listening and have a wonderful week. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.